My wife and I, this doesn't happen as much now, but I would say it did 10 years ago and before that. We might get into an argument because she's done something, objectively wrong that she needs to apologize for, but she's being too prideful, and I lose it. And then when I lose it, it becomes all about how I lost it. And fair enough, because me losing is actually worse than what she did. And consequently, I remember saying to her, I feel like we're never getting around to your stuff. So my question for you is, was that a temptation not to look at whatever stuff you had under the hood because hers was so much louder, if I'm understanding that correctly?
No, it's true. Yes.
No, it's false. I was perfect.
Okay.
So our marriage isn't perfect because she's not perfect. Because if she was,
everything would just be
bliss. You see what I'm dealing with on a daily basis?
Yeah, but I think it's a good question.
No, for sure, because hers was so loud, symbolically and literally. My pride, my ego, my lack of forgiveness, my lack of patience, that stuff was getting covered over just because of, her little explosions here and there. It'd just be like, that's the problem, and the ways that I might be triggering those things or deflecting blame. Yeah, I mean, hers was so loud. My stuff was kind of like, you're telling me this is the problem? No, you're the problem.
And it's not to say that a spouse can't be the primary problem within a marriage. I'm not saying you were, but I'm just saying in any marriage, of course that can be a reality, but it can also just sort of, our eyes are on you the whole time and we don't even begin to see. And consequently, I wonder what it's like when the spouse who's maybe more of a problem starts to go to healing and maybe it's only well down the line in your marriage that the other person starts to realize what they've been justifying and how they need to grow.
Yeah, because it started with like, you need to go to counseling. Before we were married, you need to work on this stuff. And she accepted the point, like, that there's some junk that I haven't processed, and just a little bit prior to marriage. And then in marriage, I was able to dive more deeply into it, but it was still predominantly her. And then, I would come as invited, to sit down and work. And we've been very outspoken throughout our ministry, like, hey, we go to marriage counseling. Like when we hit tough patches, we go. There's no shame in saying, we're the theology of body people, we're the how to find your soulmate couple, and we're going to marriage counseling because like we're hitting these patches and we're not knowing how to get through this stuff. But it only has been more recently where it's like, okay, I need to go without us, without her, and I need to start processing stuff of, how I handle trauma and things that I've been through. Because I did have kind of like a Leave It to Beaver upbringing. My parents got along really well. I don't have any significant trauma back then. And it was almost like a too good to be true kind of upbringing. And so I just wasn't seasoned in a certain way for the crosses that would come within marriage. But only recently have I started to dive into my own counseling process. And I don't like it at all. Like, it's like, I was talking to him the other day and he's like, well, how is this going for you? I'm like, I don't like it.
How about you shut up?
Yeah. I'm like, can I go do something? Like, I could get so many emails done in this time that we're sitting. And I just started to realize my own addiction to productivity and how I run to doing, because I just don't want to be. And even in prayer, I think when we are getting started in the interior life, the devil's tactic is to distract us from prayer. Oh, you're too busy, got a lot of other stuff to do. And if he doesn't succeed in that, he tries to distract us during prayer. Look, there's a squirrel and there's other things that and we're just and then we kind of plow through that. And then the final stage of distraction I think he gives us is to distract us with prayer in the sense that, okay, I'm going to do my rosary. I'm going to do my office. I'm going to do my Bible. I'm do, and I'm done. I did my prayer. I got my holy hour. I did my thing and I'm out. And God's like, well, I want to tell you, I'll get you next time. Like, there's no room for quiet. There's no room for receptivity. There's no time for just being loved by the Father, because I just got to do my stuff. And so I've started to grow to realize how much my own addiction to productivity has infected my interior life.
Go and download Truthfully. It's a platform bringing honest conversations and real answers to life's toughest questions.
Did you feel like this is a question for both of you, but since you just answered, did you feel like a hypocrite? Getting up on stages, people recognizing you as these beautiful Catholic people? Or as you say from the beginning, be like, no, never, because I was always very open about how we were going to therapy or whatever. Because I think everyone very comfortably says, hey, I'm a sinner. With maybe too much comfort, because no one's like, hey, I like to masturbate sometimes. Nobody does that, And so I think like generically, we struggle sometimes in our marriage.
Yeah.
That sounds way better than I did this thing that's so shameful that I don't even know how to forgive myself. Yeah. So did you feel like a hypocrite? And then how did you?
I didn't feel a sense of duplicity because I felt like, no, like we're I mean, we picked for the Bible, the gospel reading of our wedding mass, the crucifixion. From the
Don't
Gospel
do
of
that.
John.
Don't do it.
It's just
Don't
like,
do
That is such the choice of someone who went through Steubenville University in the 90s.
No,
I
we
was
did.
mad at him at one point, like, why did you set our
he's like,
foundation
everybody
at
does
Calvary?
Everybody does the wedding feast. We got to shake it up a little bit. And we did that one, and then we did the book of Tobit as well, of the healing with Raphael the Archangel. And it's like, there were prophetic things taking place that we didn't even realize. We're like, oh, this would be nice, and I like that passage. And God's like, okay, I'm writing a poem for you guys without you guys even knowing it. But no, I can't say that I ever felt a sense of duplicity, because I knew I wasn't going home and looking at pornography and getting drunk and gambling and all this stuff. I was living out, like she said, kind of our own Gethsemane. And it was very mysterious to me.
Well, how
no
about
doubt.
not hypocrisy? Because fair enough, right?
Yeah.
Hypocrisy isn't failing to live up to your own standards. It's demanding that everybody else live up to a standard that you don't think applies to you, in a sense, right? So that's fair.
Yep.
Okay, but what about, did you feel a kind of awkwardness when people would run up to you and look at you as if you guys have a perfect marriage without any problems? What was that like? Because I know for me, like sometimes I'll get into an argument with my wife, or I'll do something that's kind of crummy right before I got to get up and sound kind of Christian-y, and I think, ugh. And then I realize, and then, okay, glory to Jesus Christ, like I'm your broken instrument, and any good that happens is because of you, and acknowledging that, but it can still be awkward.
We never put ourselves on a pedestal. We were put there, right? Yeah. And that's the first thing. And second thing, I've always been very open about my brokenness, my wounds, my shortcomings, and that I didn't have the perfect background, and I don't have the perfect marriage, and it's hard and it's difficult. But I think the difference between just like, I think saints and people that are like striving for that holiness is that we keep showing up to our fight. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of where we've come from, the things we've gone through. I mean, the depths of the darkness that we have had to face in our marriage, and yet we're still here, and God is with us, and his light and his beauty and his grace has abounded, all of that. But man, was there a time of stripping and just like questioning and just like anger and just frustration and resentment and all of the things. But at the same time, I'm not less than, or my marriage isn't less than, because I'm still fighting. I'm still striving for that grace, that holiness that God is calling me to in this filth, in this brokenness, in my wounds and our marriage wounds. It's like we never are giving up the fight. And I think that's something to be proud of. That is something to proclaim. Like, I don't care how hard it gets. I don't care how deep the darkness is. I don't care what's going on. Jesus is there. If you see it, you feel it, maybe you're losing your faith, he's still going to stick with you. And isn't that what we all want anyway? We want that person that sees your ugly, sees your wounds, sees your brokenness, and he's all in. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. I love you. I'm here, and I'll go to bat. And there's nothing that's going to separate me from you except you yourself in our own sin, right? But like Jesus is there. He's present. And even if we're giving up, he doesn't give up on us. And I've experienced that where I'm like, get away from me. Like, I don't want you. Like, Peter, don't look at me. Like, it hurts me too much to see, like, have you look at me almost, right?
100% understand that.
But then in that's actually where we were talking about this in my book group. I have this amazing book group I go to at my church, and these amazing women that had just helped me in my darkest of times, even in our marriage. And we were actually just talking about, Matt, about like, what does it mean to be Jesus' beloved? Like when he says, you are my beloved, because it's just like, oh, okay. Like it's hard to like take that in because you don't feel like a beloved, what does that even look like? But I really contemplated on that. And I think it shocked them when I said, I actually felt for the first time in my life, Jesus' beloved, where I said I could actually experience and like really feel that, right? Is when he was tending to my wounds and I was so broken. I actually felt him there. And like, he was actually just loving me. I felt so immersed in his love, I think, because I was in so much darkness and in so much pain, and there was so much happening that only he could go to that place. But actually in that darkest and most shameful time in my life, that's when I felt like his beloved, right? But I was so weak and broken, and to be able to admit that. But I don't care how bad your marriage gets. I don't care what things have happened. Nothing can separate you from God just always pursuing you in that. And the grace is there, but you have to want it. Because I think a lot of the times we're so mad at ourselves and we hate ourselves because of certain things that we've done, and we know we've done them, but we're guilty, so we want to just push it away and get prideful and and not feel it. But at the same time, that's also when you could push Jesus away, and you kind of are just like, just get away. Because I've had that in my life, you know, and it's been hard. But at the same time, I think that's when my relationship has exponentially grown because of those times, and I just surrendered it. Because at some point you're fighting, and then you have to surrender because you're screwing it all up.
Thank you very much for watching that Pints with Aquinas clip. If you like it, do me a favor, click like and subscribe, and please offer a Hail Mary for the work of Pints with Aquinas and all the people we're trying to reach. God bless you.